My name is Ashley Brown. My pronouns are she and hers, and I am a principal consultant at GH Smart. And I started as a consultant with McKinsey and Company. I was a generalist consultant, which is now called an integrative consultant. And I loved it because you got a sampling of everything. You were working with all kinds of industries on so many different problems and meeting amazing people. And because you weren't a part of the actual organization, you could kind of think about, from this outside in perspective, what some of their biggest problems were, what some of their biggest hurdles were, where some of their blind spots were, and really partner and engage with them in a way that they couldn't do for themselves because they were so entrenched in the day to day. Now, that said, McKinsey is very intensive in terms of the time it takes. It's my light weeks were about 55, 60 hours, and that doesn't include the travel and flying to wherever I was going for that week. My heavier weeks were over 80 hours a week. And I love the travel. I love the work that I was doing. But life started happening in really big ways. And my husband was finishing his PhD. I was expecting my first child. And on a not so great side, my dad's cancer had come back pretty aggressively. So when I looked ahead of me at McKinsey, I still saw the partners and senior partners working these 60 to 80-hour weeks and traveling more broadly. And I thought, that's not how I want to live the rest of my life. So one of the great things about McKinsey, like Michigan and the brand recognition, is that people realize they take a level of credibility just from you being a part of this organization. So I had headhunters calling me, and Google reached out about a role in people operations. And I said, well, that's great, but I'm not going to California. If you have anything on the East Coast, let me know. And then sure enough, a couple of weeks later, they called about a role in New York. So between June of 2014 and January of 2015, I left my career at McKinsey. My husband finished his PhD. We moved to Philadelphia. I started working with Google in New York. I had a baby, and my father unfortunately passed away literally in that 6-7 month time frame. So when it was time to do taxes, I was like checking all the boxes about how life had changed. And then one of the partners that I worked with at McKinsey called me and said, hey, our professional development manager in the Philly office is leaving. She's going to Seattle. I have worked with you before. I know that you're really jazzed about people issues. I would love it if you came back and met a few people in the Philly office and saw what it was like to be a professional development manager at McKinsey. And instead of being a consultant, you would be basically my new clients would be the consultants. So I had a few conversations. I fell in love with the Philadelphia office. I'd already loved McKinsey as a culture, even though being on the consulting side just wasn't super exciting for me. I realized that I liked the variety. I liked the pace. I liked the type of clients that we engaged with. And whereas Google was an amazing learning experience, it was being internal. So I was the one kind of implementing the recommendations and moving things forward at a slower pace with a very smaller amount of clients. And that just didn't fit my style. So I came back to McKinsey and I stayed there for 5 more years doing professional development for the Philadelphia office. And in this role, like I said, I was part matchmaker, part therapist, part life coach for consultants. So as they're navigating the firm, as they're choosing their clients, as they're thinking about how they wanted their career to progress within and outside of McKinsey, I was kind of that person they could call that could really have their back and think about, if you do this project, this is what this will mean longer term, and this is what it'll mean short term, and are the trade-offs and benefits worth it? And, now that you are progressing, this is what the next level looks like. This is how you get there. Do you want to do that? Is that exciting? Let's strategize with you on what that could be. So loved that role. The problem is that I felt myself kind of topping out a bit. I missed being the one that was serving clients. I missed having newer challenges. I will say, even though there was variety in the people that I was working with, because McKinsey does have a lot of turnover, so there was always variety in the people. But I miss having to like dig my hands in with like the actual problem and work with clients through it. So the firm began to restructure their PD team, and it came at a perfect time for me because I was kind of feeling restless. And I started exploring what the heck else is out there. I have this consulting background. I have this people operations background. I have this professional development background, and I have my PhD. So, and I have my government experience from like way back in the day. So what does this mean for what do I want to do next? And then I came upon GH Smart as a firm, and what the firm literally they talk about their consultants, the double helix. Half of them have like PhDs in the social sciences, the other half have consulting backgrounds, and I fit both. And the real push is to become the most trusted advisor for your clients and to really develop caring relationships with them. So they have like the academic rigor, they had the variety, they had the high level exposure, they had all these things. And I knew people from McKinsey who'd gone there. So I started having these conversations with GH Smart. My kids are also, I have the baby that I had is now 6. So I have a 6-year-old and I have an almost 4-year-old. So I was just in a better place with life to re-engage in a different way again. So I literally just started at GH Smart not even 2 weeks ago. Not 2 weeks, not even 2 months ago. This is the end of week 7 at GH Smart, and I'm loving it. It's perfect for all the pieces of the past that I've done, and I'm applying it in a way that feels really fulfilling.